Okay, this is another guide to the writing exam. You'll have 1 hour, 2 questions, 30 minutes for each question. My advice is to do a really mini plan when you get the questions to save your panic later when you're writing and you can't think of what to put. So just get a bullet pointed list of all the things you'd like to include, what each paragraph will be on, and then when you're writing you'll be able to develop that as you go. When you're writing, if you miss a paragraph, if you miss one out, just put in 2 forward slashes and the letters NP to show that you want a new paragraph there. If you need to use statistics or figures, feel free to make them up. Just ensure they're believable. So think about your percentages or your numbers out of 10 or out of 100 and just think what you think they would be and just make them as believable as possible. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the different types of text that you might get asked to do and just give you a few more hints and tips for each one. I have done another video on this, so feel free to watch that for additional information. Okay, so an informal letter may come up. This one will be of a chattier tone, more informal language than a lot of your other types. You'll have to start it with dear, first name of the person you're writing to, and you can end it with various different things. Lots of love, love from, best wishes, many thanks, depending on who you've actually written to. Your paragraphs, compared to a lot of your other writing, will be very short, and particularly in comparison with the formal letter. So they'll be very short, very informal, perhaps a lot of slang, many more questions than you might include in the formal letter, just because you'll be trying to engage your friend and get them involved in a much more informal way. Okay, what is more likely to come up is a formal letter. So in terms of layout, my address top right, and then the recipient's address. You'll have the date under my address, and then you'll begin the letter. In terms of writing addresses, don't waste time on thinking up an address. Just put a box with the address within it of what you want to include. Okay, you'll then start it either Dear Sir / Madam or Dear Ms, Mrs, Mr with a surname. Okay, if you start it Dear Sir / Madam, you'll use yours faithfully at the end, and if you start it Dear Ms, Mr, Mrs, whoever, then you'll end it yours sincerely. Okay, good way to remember this, you can never have 2 S's together, so it's not Sir sincerely. Okay, that's a really good way to remember that. Chances are, the majority of the time, you'll be starting it Dear Sir Madam and ending it yours faithfully. Reason being, unless they give you a name, then they'll expect you to write Dear Sir / Madam because you are not aware of what the person is called. Okay, so that's really important. Unless they give you a name, go for Dear Sir Madam and end yours faithfully. You'll begin the letter with 1 sentence explaining why you're writing, 4 main paragraphs of content, and then end with 2 sentences as to why action should be taken in the future, and then end with your signature. Those are kind of the top tips for letter layout. Remain very formal throughout. Depending on the purpose for writing, we'll go over purpose really quickly towards the end of this video, and I've made some other videos on arguing and persuading types of text. Depending on why you're writing, you may well have to use rhetorical questions and alliteration and things just to engage your reader and emphasise the reason for writing. Okay, the other main type of text is a letter. Is a leaflet, sorry, we've done letter. So formal letter is very popular, also is a leaflet. You'll start this with a main title across the top, subheadings underlined throughout, and you can lay out the leaflet on the page however you like. Don't worry about folding it, creating columns, anything like that. You can just do that with boxes of text. Please remember that it's asking you to do a leaflet rather than a poster. Some of the things I've seen have focused on images, headings, subheadings. Those are just the fluff around it. The main bit that you'll be assessed on is the text that you've used to engage your reader. Admittedly, it will be in very short sections, so you'll have small boxes, super short paragraphs of text, perhaps percentages, bullet point lists of things, a factual list of things, In terms of your pictures, don't spend time drawing them, okay? Please don't do this at all. It will give the examiner the wrong impression about the amount of time and how you've spent it. So just draw a box and write picture of, and just state what your picture would be of, okay? So they get a sense of how you're using pictures to support your text, so that you've been aware of the format of a leaflet and how that's put together, but that you haven't put all that time into developing the pictures and the headings and everything else. The vast majority of what you're assessed on are the paragraphs and the way you've kind of put all that together and appealed to your audience. Okay, so that's a leaflet. A report, I'll show you a few quick examples, and I've put pictures on the website, but a report will have an introduction, it will have subheadings for each of these sections all the way through, it will have numbered sections, so you'll have your introduction and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very short paragraphs, all the different main points that you want to bring up in the report, and then a heading with a conclusion at the end. It will remain formal throughout. I'll take you through an example shortly in terms of the content, but your short paragraphs should be the main points that you want to make about a topic, and just ensure they're very varied. Okay, an article, clear, simple to read, subheadings. You'll begin short to engage the reader, and then your paragraphs will go slightly longer as you move through, just to sort of develop what you're looking for, and then probably end with a short paragraph towards the end. De Forest will appear mainly in the article and the leaflet, okay, and the formal letter and the report will have the formal language in common, okay. So those are kind of the main things to take from those aspects. A speech, longer paragraphs, it will look much more like formal essay structure, and you'll adjust the language according to the audience that you're appealing for. It's still a formal situation, okay? So even if you're asked to consider perhaps making a speech to your peers at school, okay, you will perhaps use humour to engage them, but it's still a formal situation, so adjust your language according to that. Try not to use slang, swear words, things like that. Okay, so a review may well come up. This is far less likely, okay, so speech and review far less likely than the other four modes. So review, plus points and weaknesses as well. A synopsis at the start of what you're writing about, then the plus points and weaknesses. You would use some subheadings for each of those sections, and it will be similar to the article in that you'll have small sections at the start and the end, and the detail will be developed in the middle. Okay, the main types are persuade, inform, argue. Those are the three main ones, so persuade, argue, inform. You may also have things like entertain, explain, interest, but persuade, inform, argue are the main types that you can get. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm just going to show you very quickly some of the formats, but these are also accessible as pictures on the website if you'd just like to look at them. Okay, so this is what a report looks like. This is a report to the head teacher and governors about the possibility of creating a Year 11 common room. So you've got a short introduction, as you can see, and then you've got numbered sections all the way through. So 1, background, 2, the benefits of having a Year 11 common room, 3, where the common room could be positioned, 4, when the students could use the common room, 5, keeping order in the room, and then the conclusion. What the writer has dealt with here are the different areas of concern that the head teacher might have, and has addressed each of those accordingly. You can see at the bottom that it has been signed Secretary of the Students' Council, so you can see there that it's very formal and much like the formal letter in that it's signed at the end. Okay, this is a letter layout, so as you can see, addresses, laid out, dates, dear sir, madam, yours faithfully, sign at the bottom, use a full name. Probably worth looking at this in terms of the formal language use. 3 or 4 paragraphs developing the main content, points for argument, etc. So the points and the number of points are really important. make sure you have enough content in there and that you've covered a wide range of things. Ensure that each of your paragraphs are on a separate issue relating to the topic rather than all linked in but very similar. Okay, this is an example of a speech, so as you can see, looks very much like a speech. You haven't got any of the other kind of layout issues that you do with the other types of text. This one's very straightforward. You show an awareness of your audience all the way through this. This is really important because it's verbal. Your audience is even more important because they're going to be in the room and you're engaging them directly. However, audience is important in every single situation. If you've got a younger audience, think of how they will be engaged, what kinds of things they're going to be interested in, what sort of techniques you could use to engage them, and you need to think of that all the way through. Okay, this is an article, so as you can see you've got headings all the way through. One of them is a rhetorical question to engage the audience, which in this case is a young audience, so like to be with your friends, fabulous football, you've got alliteration, a rhetorical question, you've got dedication, competition, short words used to engage the reader, introductory paragraph before breaking the topic down and getting to the point of what you've been asked to address. Okay, this is a film review, so you've got what's it about, that's the synopsis of the extract of whatever you've been asked to review. What's good about it, weaknesses, worth seeing. They're great headings. I think if you can learn those, if you get your review, use those headings to direct the review. Okay, this is the leaflet. So as you can see, it's actually laid it out in terms of the images. In your exam, however, you would just put a box where that image was and state what the image would include there. You've got headings, bullet points, different sections, different subheadings, different areas of the leaflet addressing different elements. Okay. What your children should know about fire. This one's addressed towards parents, so it's much more factual, perhaps more text heavy than you would have with a younger audience. But you can see with the text there that it does show you that it's less like a poster. You need that amount of text in it and that amount of detail. Okay. This is an informal letter, so you can see it's Dear Chloe, lots of love, Claire. You've only got your address and the date. Okay. Reason being, you'd probably just pack this up, put it in the envelope and write their address on the outside. It would be far too formal to include their address as well, so that's another difference with the informal letter. Short paragraphs you can see all the way through, moving through the different things she wants to address. Quite a quick pace, friendly tone when you have a look at it. Okay, so that's everything to do with the writing paper. The only other thing which I will produce and you probably need to look at is I'm going to do a video talking you through example responses to the reading paper. Okay, so they're going to be worth a look at. Take a look at the website, hannahtimandgcse.wordpress.com. See all the past papers and other materials on there to support you. Okay, good luck with everything.